Christina. It's only 7:59. Okay. We have to stop the music and be coming on the 8th.
Okay. All right, let's go. Okay. All right, here we go. All right. Rise and shine, everyone. Come on in. We were dealing with a few technical difficulties, but the Lord worked it out. Okay, and we have our keynote here, Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I am getting ready to make him co-host so that he can turn his video on and we can see him and hear him. So awesome. Oh my goodness, you are here. Dr. Boyce Watkins is here.
Yes, I'm glad to be here. How y'all doing today?
Good, you. Good.
We are doing very well.
Yeah. I was sitting backstage and I didn't know if I hit the wrong buttons or something, but I figured at some point it would all come together.
Definitely, yes, it worked out. So we welcome you to the RISE Virtual Summit 2023. To all of the attendees who are on live with us, we welcome you. We thank you so much. Dr. Boyce Watkins is going to deliver our keynote for the evening. I do want to take a few moments to read your bio, if I may. Okay, I'm so excited right now. I mean, we listen to you all the time. We have some of your courses. Emmanuel's doing, I think, stocks or futures, Emmanuel, the course that you're in.
Awesome.
I don't know if they're unmuted. Okay, here we go. Alrighty, so Dr. Boyce Watkins, Dr. Boyce D. Watkins is one of the leading financial scholars and social commentators in America who advocates for education and economic empowerment. He is the definition of what it means to be a Black scholar and leader in America. He is one of the founding fathers in the field of financial activism, where Black wealth is one of the key determinants in the fight for social justice. Dr. Watkins holds a PhD in finance, and after 13 years on the faculty at Syracuse University, has founded the Black Business School, which specializes in Black wealth training at a fraction of the cost of a college education and serves over 150,000 students worldwide. Dr. Watkins is currently the host of the Building Black Dollars podcast on the Push Black Network with 4 million subscribers, and is the author of his new book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. He is happily married to Dr. Alicia Watkins and resides with their family in Illinois. Please welcome Dr. Boyce D. Watkins.
Well, thank you for that introduction. I really appreciate that. I am honored to get a chance to speak to all of you. And I'm gonna tell you what, I just think that this is an awesome gathering, you know, and when I came in here, I know I'll be happy to tell my mother about the fact that first thing I saw when I came in this room was I saw God and that awesome power of God that really carries a lot of us through tough times, because it makes me actually think about when I was when I was born. One time I asked my mother, I said, so when I was born, who was there to greet me when I came into the world, because I gone to my niece's birth and all of us were there waiting outside. We were all excited. There's about 10 of us, it's just like a big deal. And I said, who was at the hospital? And she said, nobody. I said, what? And I got kind of sad, like, dang, man, she brought me this world and there was nobody there. But she said, no, just, because I knew my daddy wasn't there. He was about 15 years old. He was too young to be having a kid. And I thought somebody else would be there. And she said, no, it's just me and the white lady that, the nurse that gave birth to you. And I said, well, why didn't, grandma and them come to when I was delivered? She said, oh, because on Fridays they would go out to eat a kingfish.
Oh my God.
They dropped her off at the, so I became sad at first. I really actually was a little sad because I said, gosh, nobody cared that when I was here. Nobody cared, I came to school, nobody's there. And I had a mix of emotions. I pictured me and my mother. I'm a newborn. Me and my mother sitting out there waiting outside for her ride to come pick her up, and how scared she must have been. And I admired her courage. I admired the courage that she had to deal with all that by herself, and of course, you shouldn't be having children that young, but, things happen. And I just said, first thing I said to her was, I said, thank you for even giving me that chance to live. And then I said, what gave you, because because there's other things that people can do, right, in that situation. And then I said, so what did you do? How was that? What did that feel like? And she said, I didn't know what to do. I was scared to death. And she said, so I went to church and she said she was pregnant. Nobody knew except for her. And she was just praying and praying and praying. And she just said, I just gave you to God.
Amen.
Ooh.
And I have to pause when I tell that story, because even though I've told it before, every time I tell that story, my emotions it's like I hit a brick wall. Like, and she said she went to the altar and she said, I can't take care of this baby. But I know you're gonna find a way. And so I'm going to give him to you. She literally gave me to God, Yeah. See, and I'm getting emotional already. Yeah. I hope y'all can forgive me, but that story, that's what I thought about when I first came in this room. So, I think that's a good place to start, in the sense that one of the greatest things that we have, I think, as Black people is just that power of faith. And I think about what faith really has done, in my life in terms of giving me confidence, to walk down a dark tunnel, not knowing what's in there, not knowing when I'm gonna hit the light, and to just know it's gonna be all right. So just like when I turned on the Zoom and I hit the button and I said, I see them in there, but they can't hear me. I was like, it'll be all right. And then the bigger decisions. My mother is 16 years old, scared to death, giving birth to this baby with no money in her pocket, no nothing, no support, nothing. And God just said, it'll be all right. And it was all right. And I think really that's a good foundation to start a conversation on when you're talking about what we're discussing, which is, writing books and taking that step in your career where your energy and everything in you is telling you, okay, I got the story to tell. I gotta go out here and create this thing, and not knowing where it's gonna go. You don't know. You're not gonna see all the way at the end of the tunnel, but that faith is what can allow you, if you feel it, if you accept it, and not run away from it, it can allow you to say, you know what, it'll be all right. As long as I stick to some basic rules of hard work, being a good person, doing my best, seizing opportunities, consistently putting one foot in front of the other, it'll be all right. And so that same faith that gave my mother the courage that she had, when I was born, that's what literally I use every single day when I do what I do. You mentioned my latest book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. I think it's the 6th book I've written. I gotta go back and count. But let me just tell you, the first book I wrote was called Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About College. And it was for Black students that want to go to college. I wrote it. Everything I do is for Black people. I don't really think much about anybody else. I don't hate anybody. I just realize where, it's like if you're a doctor and you know that you're a heart doctor, you know there's something wrong with the heart. You're thinking about the heart. You're not really thinking about lungs and kidneys and all that so much. You're only thinking about those things to the extent that they affect the heart. And that's how I am. I think about the Black community. I only think about other communities to the extent of how they impact and affect the Black community. And so that first book was written for Black students. And what I wanted was, I felt that there was a message I wanted to share on to really spread the word about college in general, and that it's not as difficult as people think. When I went off to college, I made terrible grades in school. I failed almost every single class I took. My grades were really bad, and actually it was by applying things I learned from sports. The work ethic and the discipline and strategy and planning and just consistently trying harder. I just applied that to academics. And when I did that, I was the top student in the class, So I said, this is not so bad. This is actually kind of easy if you figure the game out. And then when I became a professor, I really figured out the game because I knew I'd seen it from both sides. So I wrote that book to basically say, okay, here's the blueprint. If you go to college, ain't no reason for you to flunk out other than you're not doing the work. Because here's the blueprint. Here's how your professor's thinking. Here's what's going on in your class. And I had that message to share, and I shared it. And let me just tell you, the first version of that book was not very good. When I look back at it, it wasn't my best work per se. I didn't have any of the support in terms of, I didn't have a book deal, or anything like that. Not a publisher coming along and saying, oh, well, we'll pay you money to write this book. What am I paying me money to do nothing back then? And really, even to this day, I've never had a book deal. Now I just don't want one. Now I know how to sell my own book and get it to the people that need to see it. And I've actually learned that it's easier to operate without those constraints, especially when you have a message that is the type of message that we need to share with each other that really is relevant to who we are and what we're trying to do as Black people, right? And so ultimately, what I would say is that, with that first book, what happens is I put it out, I'm going through this book and I'm finding, lots of embarrassing errors and typos and grammatical errors and everything else. But there were a lot of people that were helped by that book. And that book was the beginning and the launching pad for the rest of my career. And if I had allowed any insecurities about that particular project to stop me from moving forward, then everything else after that would never have occurred. And so what I would say generally, since we're here really talking about publishing and writing books, right? That's kind of a big premise, right? Is to say that you're not going to do everything perfect. And it's really a matter of understanding what it is that you really need to say and who can benefit from what you have to say. And if you can identify that, if you know what you want to say and you know who can benefit from it, then you've done a lot of the legwork in terms of knowing how your project is going to impact the world and be successful. Now, to give you background in terms of writing, I failed English class many times, too many times to count. I told you, when I say I failed school, I did terrible in school. I did not make good grades or hardly anything. I never made an A in anything. I think I made an A in gym class or something because I used to run fast, but I never made A's in regular classes. And so I didn't know, I wasn't comfortable with grammar and how to break down a sentence and pronouns and verbs and adverbs and dangling participles. I don't know that stuff, still don't. But here's what happened. What actually got me into writing, and I did not know I could actually write, was when I was a freshman in college, I had this theater teacher who would make us go see a play. And each week we go see a play, and she would have us describe the play in extreme detail, and just like what we saw, what we felt, what we, the sounds and the sights and everything else. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed writing in detail the things that I was seeing. So what I started doing was I started doing that in my regular life. I started journaling a lot. And all the journaling, what was going on was it was therapeutic for me because I'm very high on the trauma scale. There's a test called the ACEs trauma test, adverse childhood experiences. And I had some tough experiences as a kid where my wife is a therapist. And so she had me take this test and she said, woo, she said, if I'd known you were this crazy, I don't know if I'd have married you. And, you know, and I said, yeah, I went through a lot, but I didn't think much of it because everybody was going through something. But I had a lot of healing I needed to do, right? And so what was going on was when I started journaling, it was a healing process because I was processing my feelings on paper and I would just write and write and write and write and write and write and write. And I wasn't worried about the grammar or anything like that. I was just communicating and just laying things out just as they were coming out, just like the theater teacher taught me. And what I found was that was a beautiful process for a couple of reasons. One, it really helped me solidify myself as a good writer. Because what was going on was, in addition to all that writing, I was doing a lot of reading because now that I had actually started doing well in school, I started to like school because we like things that we're good at. If we, you know, the reason I didn't like school before was because I was bad at it. I go to school and I get put in detention and my grades would be terrible and I'd be stressed out for every test. But when I started doing well, I was like, okay, this is my thing. I like this. You know, it's like being good at basketball. You want to play basketball a lot because that's what you're good at. So I was reading constantly. And so I was taking in, you know, all this grammar and all these sentences, and I just instinctively began to know what a good sentence sounded like. And then also as a writer, I was learning how to communicate the idea without necessarily being restrained by what was grammatically right or grammatically wrong. So the balance was I ended up becoming a pretty good writer and not even knowing it. And so the first time I actually wrote for the public was I was really mad. I'd read this newspaper article in the campus paper written by this very racist conservative guy. And I was so mad about it. And I was walking across the campus. I bumped into the president of the university and I said, I can't believe he wrote this. Can somebody put this in the paper? Like, this is racist. And he said, well, if you disagree, you should go write a rebuttal. And I said, oh, okay. So I saw the journalism office right across the street. So I walked over there and I walked down and I bumped into this guy. And I said, hey, I want to know how to write a guest column. And the guy said, well, you can have my spot. I write the column, but I don't even really like writing in the paper. So you can tell the editor you can have my spot. There's his office. So I went in to this guy's office. And this guy, it was funny. Back then, I was much more of a liberal Democratic Party kind of person. I've kind of changed since then. I'm not a conservative, not a Republican. I don't get into Democrat, Republican stuff. I'm just black. But back then, I was more Democrat, more Bill Clinton-ish kind of. And this guy was staunch conservative, super right wing, but he gave me the spot, you know, in the paper. And for some reason, when I would write those articles, like the page would just turn on fire. Like every article I put out, everybody on campus would read it. I mean, you know, and it was the first time I'd ever had that experience of really being publicly recognized for any work that I was doing. And he loved working with me because even though we disagreed with each other and didn't like each other, he knew that I would get eyeballs in the newspaper. So I was his favorite writer, you know, and we just had a good partnership, even though we were different politically. And you don't really see that so much now, but back then it worked. And so when that occurred, that's when I began to say, okay, I think I'm a good writer. I did not know I could actually do this. And so what I would say to anybody listening is that when you have a story you want to tell, first of all, you gotta write it down, get it on paper. And in my view, even if nobody else reads what you're writing initially, maybe write it for yourself. Like when I used to keep my journal, the best thing about keeping the journal, in addition to it being therapeutic and helping me practice my writing, was it helped me remember my life. You know, like, so if you're a child and you start writing all the little things down that are going on in your life, and you get in the habit of writing every day, not only will you be a better writer, but you will also remember things that you'll forget when you get older. You know, I started my journal when I was about 21, 22 years old. I wish I'd started when I was 10, you know, because there's so many things from my childhood. Because my childhood was so hard, I forgot almost everything, you know, and I would love to know what I was doing, you know, today, you know, when I was 13 years old, you know, and now I can go back 20 years, 25 years, but I can't go all the way back to when I was 12 or 13, because that would actually be helpful in terms of processing some of the challenging things that I went through as a kid. A lot of pain, a lot of hurt. But remember, everything is an asset to you. You know, I don't look at anything I went through that was difficult as a setback. I think that anything you go through that is difficult, if you process it the right way, can be very beneficial to you in terms of making you tougher, making you smarter, making you more capable. And I believe that if you have a story that that you want to share with the world, or or something that you've gone through, one way you can actually get something from that and salvage from that is using that as a valuable lesson to elevate somebody else. So now today, I write all the time. I'm constantly writing stuff, not just that book, but I write a lot of short articles and stuff like that. And I find that the challenging things that I went through when I was younger are extremely beneficial in terms of me connecting with the audience. Also, the other thing that I think is really important when you're Black is you have to be able to get it done without waiting around for the system to recognize you, or for other entities to kind of pick up what you're doing and to fund it and support it and all that. You have to be willing to invest in yourself. And so to this day, when I write a book, I don't go looking for a book deal. I don't go looking for anybody to sign me to a contract or anything like that. In fact, to this day, I've never had a radio show, TV show, none of that stuff. But I've had a chance to speak all around the world and, to a lot of people, and I sold a lot of books and things like that. And a lot of that came from understanding business. And so I would say that anybody that wants to write a book or create something should make sure you understand, how's this going to go full circle? What's this process going to look like? So you start with, what do you want to share? Who can benefit from it? And then how are you going to get those ideas in front of other people? And I also think that writing, if that's what you do and that's what you love, should be something that you're doing on a regular basis every single day, so that you can practice it and not necessarily feel like there are any rules. There are no rules to this game, except to achieve whatever you define to be success. And only you really know what those rules actually are and what that's going to look like for you. So the other thing about writing a book that I would say, and by the way, I'm open to questions and things like that as well. So, if there's a point, ma'am, I see you, Miss Johnson. I see you're nodding, you and your husband. So y'all the ones that I can see, and then I see these young ladies on the screen. Are those your children? I'm sorry?
I had to unmute. Yes. So J-Fam Johnson, our 8 children, they're best-selling authors. They have their own clothing brand. They're studying your course. Emmanuel is studying your course. They do trading, a little bit of trading. So yeah, J-Fam Johnson, say hello. And we do have a couple of questions when you're ready. Just let us know.
Okay. Yeah. We can stop at any time. But first of all, I'm very proud of you. Your family, I got to know your family, but your family is the type of family that I write about in my book, in terms of what I visualize when I see the power of our families. And what I really also want you to know about your family, in case you don't know it, is that your family is going to be worth probably $100 million within a generation. Wow. And the reason I know that is because I can already tell that not only are you introducing your children to economic concepts at an early age, and they're also cultural values that they're getting about working together, ownership, these little things that you do. And one of the kids is going to end up just taking off to the moon and creating some amazing opportunities. And then because you're connected, that support will be there, which is going to make it go full circle for the family. So congratulations already. You planted amazing seeds. I can see that. So yeah. So congratulations on that. But with that being said, I would say that my journey as a publisher, to that extent, if you like to know about that, is we were able to sell a lot of books over time. We found that selling books is easier when you're in person with people. When you do events and people hear you speak, they tend to want to buy your book after that. I would also say that anybody who writes a book should also work on being a good speaker, so that you can speak on the topic of the book, and then people will also want to buy the book as part of what they're learning from you or getting from you as a speaker. Okay, and then in addition to that, I would also say that self-publishing is the best approach. I don't really think that giving a publisher ownership of your property is going to really work out well for you. Publishers tend to take, they're like record labels. They take most of the money and they leave you with the scraps. Now, the hard part is that when you take all that on yourself, that means the marketing is your responsibility. It means the distribution and the printing and everything else. But there are so many avenues that allow you to do that. I mean, Amazon KDP is very good right there to print your book very cheaply and then get as many units as you want. And then you can turn that into a lot of money. Also, I would say understanding business allows you to really understand that you're not just creating the book. The book is one manifestation of a set of core ideas that you have that can add to the world, right? When you figure out who you are, just as a brand or as a business or what the case may be, the book is just one way for you to communicate those ideas. So there are other ways. There's merchandise. There is classes that can be taught. There are topics that can be spoken on as a speaker, training, things like that. And what I find is that really supplements everything that you might do with the book. So when I wrote the 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, first of all, I didn't even know if I wanted to write another book. I'd already written a few, and I was kind of tired. Writing books makes you tired, at least with me anyway. And but what happened? What drove that book was I just had a goal. I said, I really want to see more families like the one I'm looking at right now, like the Johnson family. I need us to understand what it really means for us to be successful in this very competitive, chaotic world that doesn't always want us to succeed. That doesn't always, that isn't always happy to see us when we love each other and support each other and are doing well. So I said, okay, how can we come up with some basic rules that will help us operate as a unit, as a team? And if you look around, most of the economics on Earth is driven by what I call almost like gang affiliation. You have gangs or clubs or herds, or even animals know that when you operate as a pack, you're safer and stronger than when you separate individually. And we've unfortunately been trained in the opposite direction. We've been trained to separate, and then they just take us out one by one. But when we're together as a team, as a pack, can't nobody mess with us. Like, ain't nobody gonna mess with the Johnson family, because if you mess with one of them, you got to deal with all of them, right? So basically, if you notice, most economic gangs, they operate with like a code of conduct, like Apple. Apple is an economic gang, the company, Apple, Google, all that. That's an economic gang. They wear the same logo. They have operating rules. They have a common objective that they work together on. And you see this everywhere. You see the police. That's one type of gang. You have countries that come together and form coalitions. That's another gang. We have something called NAFTA, North American Free Trade Organization, or Free Trade Agreement. That's U.S., Mexico, and Canada forming a gang. And why is that? Well, they do that so they can unify and make money together. Same thing, even in China. China, we know, doesn't have the potential of Africa, but the difference is that China operates as one gang. Somehow they got everybody under the same umbrella, speaking the same language, having the same goal, all representing China. And the work that has to be done in Africa is we all look alike, but there's 1,000 different languages and cultures and everything else, which kind of makes it more difficult to operate under the same umbrella with the same objectives, right? So what I would say is that when I wrote that book, writing it was done because I said there's something that God is telling me that I need to share with my people, and I need to share it in a way that it's going to still be here even if I'm gone. And I need it to be simple and easily implementable so that families would then be able to apply this and then do something that's going to have a ripple effect that's going to go out 100 years. And so when that was done, then I outlined those ideas, thought them out. I've been talking about them in speeches and everything else, and then created the book and put it out there. So I would say that, if there's that underlying passion that's there, and writing is your gift, always know why you're writing what you're writing. I don't think writing things just for money is very much fun. I think that writing things because you're being driven by that, and you know why you're doing it, that's really going to motivate you, even if the money's not there. Because there were a lot of times when I wrote books and the money wasn't there. I wasn't making money doing it, but I kept going because I enjoyed it. So you got to pick stuff that you enjoy. You got to work on things that you love. You got to work on things that actually matter, and things that matter to the people that matter to you. And that's my last point on that before I can open up for questions. So if someone has a question, I can pause right there and answer any question that you may have.
Awesome, awesome. So let me look and see if there are any questions in the chat. Let's see if any of those questions came through. Bear with me for just 1 second and let me enable it for everyone. Okay, so the chat is, yeah, we have some little ones going to sleep. You know, it was kind of late for them.
Yeah,
but
see that.
Any questions for Dr. Boyce D. Watkins, Dr. Watkins, any questions at all, either on the Facebook live stream? Lana Ann says, hello to us. Hi, good night, everyone. This is great. Thank you. Anyone else, either on the live stream or the live webinar? I do have a question to get us started in your book. You know, we've been going over the book. We have Powernomics, you know, by Dr. Claude Anderson. Yeah. You know, Anthony spoke a little bit about that. I don't know if you remember our video, but we sent you a video talking about thanking you. And Anthony mentioned that it was sort of like you were a protege in a sense, because you're helping to keep his legacy alive, you know, and that is just so important to us. And with this new book that you did, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, you talk about planting seeds. And you touched on it just a little bit a few minutes ago, but what Anthony has led our family to do in planting seeds, that's what we've been trying to do. We've been working really hard at that. Can you speak to, and we still got a lot of work to do, you know, but can you speak to that section of your book where you talk about some of the seeds that we should be planting as a Black American family?
Yeah, well, you know, when you talk about planting seeds, I really want to start off to answer that question by talking about, you know, what is wealth? Like what is wealth in general? What does it mean to be wealthy? Well, wealth has different meanings. Some people think it relates to money, but money is just one manifestation of wealth. There are lots of other things that are far more valuable than money that you can have that, you know, will make you feel very wealthy. And then some people have a lot of money and be very poor because the rest of their life is in shambles, their health and their relationships and everything else. But wealth is basically an accumulation process. It's an accumulation of something, right? Accumulation of money, accumulation of real estate, accumulation of love, an accumulation of good health, an accumulation of whatever. And anytime you have an accumulation of something, typically there was an accumulation process. Like if my wealth is my health, like let's say I'm super fit and I'm in really good shape. Well, that health, that wealth that I have in my body is a reflection of an accumulation process where I've been working out every day. I've been putting in the time. If my wealth is that I play the violin very well, that comes from 10,000 hours of practice that I put into becoming a great violinist. And so that every time I sat down and I had practice, track practice or violin practice or whatever, or putting money in my savings account, I'm planting a seed. I'm planting the seed. You plant, you plant, you plant, you plant, you plant. And then the wealth is just kind of the harvest. That's just you showing other people the result of all the work that you put in up until that point. And what happens is that we got tricked when it came to wealth. We somehow got convinced that you can have a harvest without planting any seeds. And so when somebody talks about, you know, how they're struggling and they have no money, no resources, no nothing, well, I say, well, what seeds did you plant? You know, what seeds did you plant with education? What seeds did you plant with hard work? What seeds did you plant with investing in the stock market? What seeds did you plant, or my children hate me? Well, what seeds did you plant in spending time with those kids when they were young, so that maybe they would show up for you when you get older, right? And so ultimately, seed planting is the most critical aspect of wealth, because if you're a consistent seed planter, you can't help but to be wealthy in some area. Everything you put energy into eventually is going to pay off for you. And also when you talk about something like economics, most of the economics that's out here in terms of people having a big accumulation, a big harvest, is a result of somebody planting seeds across generations. You know, my wife bought her first house with money that was invested by her great-grandfather in 1945. And so that's because, so somebody thinking about her in 1945 who didn't even know her, who never met her, or didn't, I think he might have met her when she was a baby, was the reason that she was able to buy a house in 2000 and whatever, right? So ultimately, at the end of the day, the question that I think everyone should ask themselves, and the question I ask myself every day is, what are you investing in? Where are you planting your seeds? You've got to plant seeds. It's got to be part of the culture. And the other thing about planting seeds and helping them grow is it's hard for a seed to grow in toxic soil. So that's everything from a child that's raised in a toxic environment, where that child's going to grow up and be dysfunctional. They're going to have a lot of problems. With a business, if someone tries to start a business and it's a toxic economic soil, meaning that your family doesn't support you, they're always discouraging you, nobody wants to help you, nobody wants to buy anything from you, nobody wants to even hit the like button on your Facebook post about your business, well, that business isn't going to grow. So what we should think about is not just planting lots of seeds, but also creating fertile soil in everything that matters. Fertile economic soil, but it's got to be fertile soil when it comes to wealth, period. Whatever wealth means to you, wealth might show up in the form of money for sure, but there's also physical health in terms of thinking carefully about what we eat and what we encourage each other to eat. And then you might go into things like relationships. If like right now, my parents are aging, and our family's been hit with cancer a lot. And one of the good things, one of the shining lights of the family is that when it was time for all the kids to come together to show up for mama and show up for daddy, there wasn't no question about it. It wasn't like, oh yeah, we try to get so-and-so, but he's out here hooked on drugs. So, or so-and-so just don't even care about the family no more. A lot of families have those issues, but we didn't have that problem because of the seeds that were planted many, many years ago to teach us the culture of sticking together as a family, as well as other forms of culture like educational values and saving your money and preparing for a rainy day and hard work and responsibility, right? So planting the seed is very important, and creating the proper soil is very important. If you do those two things, then you can't help but to be successful.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. We do have a question from someone on the live stream. Tanya E. Hood says, love this. I agree that we should operate as a collective. What suggestions would you give to a team? What suggestions would you give to build a team if you have limited time because you are still working full time?
Building a team. Well, the first thing I would say is when you talk about team building, I think looking at that in a bigger scope might be starting off with just understanding the value of relationships and the importance of investing in relationships, building relationships, and repairing relationships, and knowing how to do that properly. Relationships are literally one of the most important aspects of wealth building that there is. I didn't learn. It took me a long time to figure that out, but now I understand. Good relationships can either make things easy or make things hard, and what I can say is that if you're talking about building a team, you don't have much time. I would say rather than just focusing on the specific and explicit act of building a team to achieve a specific economic purpose, I think thinking generally just about relationship building, relationship management is important. And so if we have people that we're building healthy relationships with in our lives, sometimes we're related to them. These are people that go way back, but then sometimes you have relatives maybe that you don't really want to do business with. You don't feel comfortable doing that. And I would say at that point, it might be a matter of understanding each other and saying, okay, what are we trying to do? So I wouldn't put a lot of pressure on yourself to get together and say, okay, we're going to do this as a business meeting. Just get together for a Sunday dinner or something and just say, okay, let's spend a few minutes talking about money. Let's spend a few minutes talking about business. Let's spend a few minutes talking about creating opportunities with each other, and then invest in a little bit of time that you may have. And it may just be literally 1 hour a week. 1 hour a week is not that much time. Even if you're working full time, you can do 1 hour a week. One Sunday meeting, you'd be amazed at how much can be accomplished in one Zoom meeting per week with the family. And what I found when we did our family Zoom meetings was that we would learn a lot about each other that we didn't even know. We would know about things that others had going on that we had no idea about. And then on top of that, we were able to talk about economics too and make some financial plans and pull some things together to help each other achieve various goals. So so I think you can still build a team even if your time is limited. But in general, just thinking specifically about building and maintaining healthy relationships. And there's a way you network with other people to get them to want to work with you. George Fraser, who wrote Success Runs in Our Race, he's the networking guru of America. And he's very good. He really showed me a lot about the importance of networking with other people by being as helpful as you can be. If you are giving to the right people, then people will give back to you. And so even when you're networking with somebody that you would like to have on your team or you'd like to work with or partner with, showing up and offering to support them in something that they're doing and caring about what they care about is a good way to get them to care about what you care about. And so I think you can do it. I would start with something real basic though, not overwhelm yourself. I think 1 hour a week would do it. And if you think about how important our economic survival is to all of us in our lives, why wouldn't we put 1 hour a week into that? That's actually not very much time. There's 168 hours in a week. So you investing one of them to build your future, I think is a worthwhile trade-off.
Thank you so much for that. In reference to your book, again, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, when you're talking about economic power, define that for us, and then give us a few examples of how families can build economic power if they're starting from scratch. You know, we don't have the 400-year head start some other, races and nationalities have.
Well, let's talk about what economic power really looks like. You can start with a couple of basic things like financial security, not living paycheck to paycheck, not being stressed out and losing sleep because you're worried about the economic foundation falling out beneath you. And then things like maybe cash flow, the ability to get access to the money that you need to make the investments that you'd like to make, things like that. But even more deeply for Black people, economic power is extremely important because a big source of our stress and honestly a big source of a lot of the racial aggression that we might experience comes from a lack of economic independence and security and freedom. There's nothing more painful than to get up every day and go to work for somebody who hates you. It's very, very hard to do. And so we unfortunately are stuck in this weird holding pattern where we're preparing our kids to go out and be tortured in the same economy that tortured us. And I'm just sick of it. I don't want my children working for somebody who doesn't like them. I want them to be in a space where they feel loved and supported and not just tolerated. So if you're starting off with nothing, I think the first step definitely is to understand that starting with nothing does not mean you're supposed to finish with nothing. But sometimes we get in the habit of having nothing. So we just say, that's just the way it is. That's the way it's always going to be. And so that right there is kind of a self-esteem issue in terms of saying like, okay, you deserve better than that. Your children certainly deserve better than that. But that also requires things that society does not reinforce, like delayed gratification, long-term planning, things like that. We live in a world of instant gratification. We live in a world that encourages, planning for Saturday night, not planning for the next 5 or 10 years. And because here's the thing, if your culture, if your values are shaped so that you are a person that can make just a 10-year plan, it's very easy for somebody like me to tell you how to be wealthy in 10 or 15 years. It's not hard. The weird thing is that a lot of us can't even look out 10 years. But think about it. It's 2023. 2013 wasn't that long ago. But if I went back to 2013 right now and said, here's what's going to happen between now and 2023, and here's how you can prepare for that, and here's the opportunities you can take, you can invest in and prepare for right now that are going to put you in a good position by 2023, I bet you a lot of people wouldn't listen. I could get a time machine right now and go to the year 2013, tell them everything that's going to happen, everywhere to put their money, and about maybe 5 to 10% of the people would listen. And so ultimately, it's a lot of it really definitely means we're really in a culture battle. It's not a battle of in terms of access to knowledge and information, because if you have a cell phone, you have a whole university in your pocket. Any information that you want access to is right there available to you. They even got artificial intelligence bots that'll go search out any information that you want. And so access to the information is not the issue. It's really value systems and culture, because your values will tell you what information matters to you, what information you're going to go seek out. So if your values tell you that you want to go and find out, where the next Beyonce concert is, or how I can get a new iPhone or a new pair of sneakers, then that's what you're going to go look for. And so, but if your values tell you that you want to learn how to prepare for the future and be in a good position, then you'll spend your time looking for that. And there are a lot of people that get that. I think there are a lot of people that get that. And the other thing I would say too is that wealth is a team sport, and it's a cross-generational sport. So my argument is that if you have children that are young, there's no reason on this earth that your children shouldn't be financially secure by a certain age. I have something on my website, BoyceWatkins.com. I call it the $5 a day investing plan. If you literally, and this is done, I've seen this mathematically, this is the kind of stuff that we understand from studying stock markets and all that. If you invest $35 a week, which is $5 a day, which isn't even enough to buy a McDonald's value meal, in the stock market, and you randomly pick stocks, even if you didn't even know anything about stocks, you just randomly pick companies that were in the S&P 500, and you did that consistently every week, and did not sell those stocks, then by the time your child is 30 years old, they'd have $250,000 approximately, somewhere around there. Maybe it's only 230,000 or whatever, but still it would be enough liquid income that they would literally be separated from everybody else. They wouldn't be having the same problems that a lot of our kids have. So a lot of times it's not, but unfortunately we've been trained to believe that it's all connected to like this tremendous lack of opportunity that's incredibly overwhelming. And I'm not going to sit here and say that opportunities are available for everybody, but there are some opportunities that are right there in front of us. But if you're stuck on the idea that there's no chance and there's no opportunity for you to improve your situation, then that's where you're going to stay. That's where you're mentally going to stay. So a lot of us are psychologically incarcerated. For those that are liberated, it's very straightforward, actually, to change that generational curse right now. Just literally that one thing, that $5 a day plan. If you did that for your child, and as long as you never sell the stock, and every stock you pick, just pick something out of the S&P 500 or get an index fund from Vanguard that says S&P 500 on it, your child is going to be financially good for the rest of their life. Problem solved.
Awesome. Awesome. And you said the $5 a day plan is on your website. Do you have that link available? Where? Okay. Yep. Can
yes. Yeah, BoyceWatkins.com, BoyceWatkins.com, and if somebody wants a hard copy, I wrote a little short, but it's not even a full book, but it's a tiny little book. It's on Amazon. It's called the $5 a day investing plan, and that's available there too. And effectively, I did that because when I started talking about wealth on the internet and kind of doing what I do, I became very exhausted from the Black people that have no faith in Black people, yeah. That unfortunately are just trapped in that cage of oppression, to the point where they will fight so hard to convince you that there's nothing that we can do without a superhero or without the government and all this other stuff. And it was very exhausting. So I said, okay, let me just shut this argument down once and for all. And I said, okay, what is something that we spend our money on all the time and don't even think about it, where we spend thousands and thousands of dollars over the course of years? I said, oh, fast food. I said, okay, so let's say $5. You can't even buy a McDonald's value meal for $5. So if you tell me Black people cannot afford to invest, then you're basically telling me Black people can't afford fast food. And I know you're lying, right? You can put a Popeye's chicken in the middle of the poorest neighborhood in America, and that Popeye's chicken will have a line of people out the door, around the corner, down the block. And 90% of those people in that line shouldn't even be there, right? They already got the diabetes and the heart disease and everything else, right? So, I'm not even judging that. If that people like chicken, there ain't nothing wrong with that. That's their business. But at the end of the day, we've got to really kind of address these things and at least accept the idea that we have the ability to solve our own problems. And that's hard for some people to accept, but I pray for them. I wish them the best, but I'm also speaking for the people that already understand this and saying, okay, here's how we can move forward. And your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren will never be poor again. And the coolest thing is that this is a great opportunity, because if you do it well and you do it right in this generation, you know, your children and grandchildren, they're going to remember that. Your great-grandchildren, 100 years from now, they'll be talking about you. You'll be a hero to the family, you know, but you got to see the value in the family. You have to have that ability. And this goes back to faith. You know, when I came in and I saw, you know, I ain't gonna lie, I don't go to church. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm a man of huge faith. I deeply believe in the power of God and the universe and everything else. And so to me, it's like faith drives me every day, because I'm sitting there thinking, there are people that I will never meet, people that are not even born, that are going to get what I'm saying. Right now, maybe there's nobody in here listening that cares what I got to say, but somebody's going to benefit from this, because there's going to, out of 1,000 people I talked to that day, there's going to be maybe 20 of them who are going to take it to heart, and they're going to teach it to their kids, and then their kids will teach it to their kids. And we're creating generational prosperity every single time we have this conversation. So that's what makes me get up and open my mouth every day, is I'm really seeing the things that are not yet seen. And I think that developing that type of vision over time is something that we can all practice and gain, and it'll keep you going. It keeps you going even when it seems like the whole world doesn't care what you have to say. You know, because believe me, I don't think that people like me are necessarily all that popular. I'm not as popular as some of these crazy rappers, you know, out here just speaking death and chaos and destruction and drug addiction to our people. You know, they get their audiences are 1,000 times bigger than mine. But I'm not really seeing like what's here now. I'm looking at what's going to exist if we can achieve the goal of making this sink in as a cultural value within some segment of our people, because their children and their grandchildren are going to be the ones who become the billionaires and the trillionaires and the corporate chiefs that are going to end up running the world. That's what I'm seeing every single day when I talk.
Amen. Yes, you said so much in that, from the $5 a day plan to planting seeds to just everything, even with like the health issues. You already have the health issues and you're still going to the Popeyes, the KFCs. Oh, do they still have KFC? Yeah, KFCs and all of that. So you just said so much. You said so much. Did you want to add anything?
No,
Joshua had to go to the floor.
I just heard when you were saying seeing what seeing was not seeing. Seeing was not being seen. When that point struck me, because that's obvious by the tactics being carried out every day that they are seeing. You know, the same thing you just spoke of, like whatever is happening today may not be seen, but the generations to come may be billionaires, trillionaires, maybe leaders of society. And obviously that is on their radar just by, you know, the vitriol and the violence that, I mean, it's not outward, overt, you know, water cannon, dog biting you violence, but it's very violent how they react to us financially, or how our image is portrayed, or how our words are construed, or, you know, how the whole imagery, the optics of us all together is always being, you know, downtrodden and flipped upside down. And when you said the thing about you just said something about employment. When you were talking about the employment idea, I was telling my oldest children, I say, you know, it's people right now that would be more than happy to teach you, you know, the processes of McDonald's and Popeyes and Burger King, and it would all be building their empires for generations to come. You would be, you know, building an armament for them to keep you and the rest of your people down. When in this time you have the ability to build for yourself, and you can make all the mistakes on my dime and on my image, and build for yourself, build the lasting wealth to come. So yeah, I mean, I jive with you all the time. I look at you at Brother Cloud Anderson all the time. When I'm down the road, yeah, I'm always on YouTube looking at y'all, boy. Y'all keep me going. But yeah, I really appreciate your words. And something came out earlier when you were speaking at the very beginning. Yeah. Our basic experience, no matter where we are situated today stems from pain.
Mm.
And whatever we write, when we invest our pain into our writing, I think that moves the needle more than anything else, because it's that pain that really touch people, that really move people. And when you first came on, you could hear the pain. I was like, man, I'm feeling the pain. Like, that's why our writing, we don't, our stories are kind of contrary to how European stories are. You know, American stories are afraid to end with a sad ending. European movies they can kill the lead character off in a heartbeat. They don't care.
No,
I think what our stories is that we don't always, we try to meet people at a place where we want them to be instead of meeting them where they're at in their pain. And when we express and share our pain, I think that's the thing that move the needle, because once they know you're feeling what they're feeling, I think they're more receptive to whatever you're writing about.
Well, that connection is very important. You are right about that. You know, they say, I heard Pastor Kevin Cosby say something that I think makes sense. He says, before you correct, you must connect. And you know, before, and then even more deeply, you know, with my wife being a therapist, and I learned a lot of the stuff that she knows, and I already told you I was kind of half crazy, so I needed a therapist anyway. and that's what I learned. I learned about the importance of developing that connection through various approaches, making sure that people feel like they're heard, so they'll know you understand them, and then they'll try to understand you. Like, you know, ain't nobody gonna try to understand somebody who doesn't understand them. Yeah. So I think that what you're saying about the experiences that we have and allowing us to use those experiences, I think any experience can be used as an asset to you. In fact, the more painful, the more challenging experience is, the more work I think you should put into turning that into some kind of asset. Like if you went through a tragedy, then make that into your best-selling book. Tell that comeback story. Like people, you're gonna help somebody, and you're gonna help yourself. You deserve it. You went through it. You know, so really, I'm, you know, maybe I don't think I'm overly optimistic when I say there is a benefit in everything. You know, there is not a strong person on this earth who didn't get strong by going through something terrible. You know, I've never been to a heaven that didn't require me to go through hell in order to earn my right to be there. You know, so ultimately, sometimes, you know, and I talk to my wife about it sometimes, because she'll you know, I'll tell her a story about something terrible that happened when I was 12 or something, and she'll just say, "Oh, you poor baby, and I feel so bad for you." And I'll be like, "Well, why you feel so bad for me? I don't feel bad for me, because that's what made me strong. I learned some lessons from that experience. I've processed it in a way where no, this ain't gonna beat me down and keep me down. I'm gonna take this and package it up in some way that's gonna make me the kind of man I never would have been if I hadn't gone through that." And so I encourage everybody to do that. You know, and the simple way I've heard somebody else say it is, don't let she used the words better, not bitter. You know, you can have those negative experiences, and they can make you worse and tear you down and all that. And that to me is part of that processing, is saying, okay, how am I going to take this and understand this shouldn't have happened to me, but since it did, I'm going to extract whatever lessons are there, and then also care about other people and share what I've experienced so that they can overcome what they're going through, or be aware of something that they need to look out for, or something like that. I'm a big believer in that. And I think it shows up definitely in writing, you know, in writing, speaking, leading, or anything. Most people are, they tend to they give more credibility to people who've actually gone through something. You can't really be a good teacher if you ain't been through nothing.
Amen. Amen.
For sure.
Wow. When you mentioned the beginning, when Dr. Boyce started speaking, I was relating your story to Anthony's story. And I was relating it to a lot of the Black men that I've come in contact with in my family, you know, teaching, you know, work environments. And it seems like there's some parallel themes and principles with all of the stories, with the struggle into manhood. It's not an easy route there aren't the lessons and the examples of, the many men before them. They have to like trailblaze and find their own way. And of course, there are exceptions, but, for the most part, I grew up in Baltimore City, Maryland, East St. Louis, Illinois. So some of those examples that we, would love to have had as Black men and Black women, they just weren't there. So, trailblazing and starting our own communities, that's what, all of this really is about, the Rise Virtual Summit, creating our own community. So when we do have like Tanisha Costales in the live stream mentioned in a comment, she said she didn't have the family support, so that we can be each other's support. We're creating our own neighborhoods, like, we're creating our own communities. And you've been such a blessing. The concepts that you've taught in your books, and then what you've shared tonight, it just hits home. Yeah, I can't even put it into words. I can't even put it into words, but it hit home. And I just thought of like the Black men that I've come in contact with, the Black families that have struggled through, and the lessons you shared tonight are definitely implementable. We can start planting seeds, even if it's just a little at a time, they'll be worth it.
Yeah. And I'll say this too, that it's, our children are such a valuable asset. And I just don't know if we really, some of us have really understood that, been really have that drilled into us, because we live in a society that doesn't really value family and children as much as it used to. I think that we see children as sort of this extra burden, this extra financial responsibility, and and it's almost like in a magazine I saw them refer to children as like a luxury item. You got extra money, so you got money to burn, so you go ahead and have some kids because you can spend money. And what's happened is they've disconnected from the time where 100 years ago people understood if you have a big family, that meant you had more protection. That means you had more economic security because you had lots of labor. They saw the family as a source of wealth, wealth protection, everything in between. And so the reason I go back to that is because I think what it speaks to is that in our society, the things we have to walk away from are little things like the devaluation of motherhood. We look at a mother or a single mother like, oh, well, you ain't nothing, you ain't blah, 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 blah. No, there's no more valuable task that any of us does in this society than giving birth to a child. None of us will be here without mama, right? And then secondly, the fathers are right there in terms of our role, in terms of what we do. And then of course that links to the devaluation of fatherhood. Either people feeling like the father is not necessary, or fathers who don't want to be fathers, and all these other issues. And what people are missing, and this is where that lack of vision comes into play, is they're missing that whole picture in terms of what happens 30, 40 years down the line, when your children are now the adults and you're a frail old man or frail old woman, and they don't want nothing to do with you. They see you as a burden now. They're not coming to visit you in a nursing home. They're gonna let you just be homeless on the street, especially you ain't prepared for retirement. You didn't do none of that. So now you stuck because the kids are living their best life now because you were living your best life 20 or 30 years ago. And so, so what I think every family should understand, how many children do y'all have, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson? 8. 8 children, right? You're already a multi-million-dollar family.
Amen.
Literally.
That.
And I'm not just saying it to be nice. I want to be nice to you, but I don't have to make things up. I don't have to lie to say this. Think about it like this: 8 children. Look at how much labor those children are going to produce for the world before they retire. If every person works 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, that's 2,000 hours a year. Over a decade, that's 20,000 hours a decade. Over the course of a career, they work about 100,000 hours, 100,000 hours of labor. If you value that labor, that 100,000 hours of labor at, let's say, let's pick a number, $50 an hour, that's $5 million worth of labor, right? Now think about this. This is the brainwashing. We're trained to send our children out to go, we farm them out to these corporations, right? So each of them is making a $5 million donation to white supremacy by the time they're done, right? They're making a $5 million donation to white folks. And so 8 kids, 8 times 5 is $40 million. And so and that doesn't even count interest and compound interest. You throw in compound interest, you're talking about at least 100 million, maybe 200 million, right? Now, what happens if you reverse that process? What happens when Anthony and Christina say, no, don't go give your best to them, give your best to the family. Pour all that expertise, all that labor, blood, sweat, and tears, we're gonna pour it into the family pot, and we just gonna make our family into the empire that it's supposed to be. You know, this is the natural course of things. This is what's supposed to happen. There are families that do this. You know, families like the Hunt family that own the Kansas City Chiefs. A couple generations ago, the grandfather bought the Chiefs for about $500. Now the Chiefs are worth $5 billion. You know, so if you have that vision and you're planting the seeds and pouring into the children the way you are, you've given them life, they're loyal to you, you're giving them love and support and protection and nurturing and guidance, and then they go out and they become the extraordinary young people they're supposed to be, and then they're all connected as that gang, like I talk about in that book. Ain't nothing stopping you. That family legacy is more powerful, more valuable than most corporations. That's one example. Oh, I think you're muted.
Hold on, I'm unmuted.
I was thinking about what you were saying that when you were speaking on society, right? Well, the hierarchy of society, family is not in their interest. You understand what I'm saying? Like they failed in that. Like I remember a time us growing up, we would look across the tracks and say, that's how a real family looks. We would see the dad that had his business, the mom who would be able to take care of the family, the children were well dressed, and then you would see the lineage of the children and the nephews and the nieces get to work within that business and grow that thing. And we saw that as family. Well, if you look around you, that's crumbled with them. And then we start taking on their ways and start abandoning the same thing as if it applied to us. We oftentimes take on issues that aren't our own. They're their issues. And we claim them for our own, and then we run with them. And they multiply with us as everything else does multiply in our hands. So when you said that, that's even if you look at the Roe versus Wade being turned over, that's because they're saying, man, we got to pull out all the stops to build family. I see on a C-SPAN, senators and congressmen saying all the time, in the next 30 years, 85% of the world will be repopulated by people of color.
Really?
They've been saying it. Every time they bring up anything about green energy or natural resources being in depletion, they always bring up the world populace. And they've been saying it over and over for like the last two, just after the pandemic, right after the pandemic. That's all. If you look at any of those guys on the Senate floor, 85% of the world will be repopulated in the next 30 years by nations of color. And then right behind that, Roe versus Wade got turned over. Because, you know, Roe versus Wade was they champion flag for do what you want to do. But it wasn't working in the direction that they wanted to work in. It was working more against them than it was us. You understand what I'm saying? So now you see it now, the face of success. And I just throw out the names like, you know, Steph Curry, LeBron, you know what I mean? They not players. See, Magic Johnson them was players. The young ones now, they like, nah, my wife gonna have 3, 4, 5 children. We gonna build from here. We don't want to be just basketball players. We want to own industries. Yes. And that is, you can see that. And I also believe with you do, the work that you do, I think what you do is you and Brother Claude Addison, I think that's monumental because we've been taught that success is being measured in basically wallet size and an ability to throw balls, kick balls, and please crowds. Just like Dr. Claude Addison always say, it always measured in sweat. But you come along and you say, no, we ain't doing all sweat. We got the sweat part down. We got that. Here go the part where I believe when I see the Holy Spirit really moving is he take the least things and make them the greatest things. I think he's looking at the people that don't capture the camera for entertainment. I just don't see a precedent for entertainment in the Bible. I see a precedent for people who will focus and deliver. Like, I'm not saying, I'm saying God will always make the inroads to get you to a place, because they had the platforms to be seen by the multitude of people to see that families amongst us are successful and prosperous. But I also believe that it matriculates down to the common man to say, man, it's grassroots. This is what we should be doing. And the one conversation I get all the time, because I do a lot of Uber. So it's a lot of foreigners that do Uber. And they always say, man, you know, what about the lack of community, you know, amongst your people, you know, Black Americans? And I always say, you know, if you want to do community, you're going to have elders and leadership in the community. If the elders and the leadership have been decimated till they don't have any say, wealth, or authority in their own neighborhoods, how does that happen? Like when you got a kid that you say that's on the fence for selling drugs, getting in trouble, or, man, I seen Mr. James and his family and they own grocery stores. I'm going to go around there and cop me a job at the grocery store. I'm going to get close to him to see how business works for real. If you remove all those examples, walking examples amongst the people every day, because you go to certain communities, Little Italy, Jewish towns, Chinese, Japanese, they have those elders of men and women that own businesses, like such and such own a concrete store, such and such own real estate, such and such own plumbing. They all trade each other amongst each other to help each other build their businesses, and they take their money and they say, this is how much police protection we're going to have in our neighborhood. This is what our community center going to look like. This is what grocery store is going to get the lobby here. So when you decimate that elder leadership, that the in particular Black males, and you remove them all together, I mean, that's the community.
Yeah. And the big question that that the males have to ask ourselves is, what are we going to do about that?
Amen.
You know, they're not going to stop doing it if it's easy to do.
Exactly.
You know, and so ultimately, you know, what you're really describing to me is warfare. And you know, I've never seen a soldier that won a battle by complaining about the enemy and what they did to him, right? You must strategize, you must fight back. And that's and when I realized things like that, that's when I kind of changed a little bit in a way that was offensive to certain people. You know, there were some people, they expect me to go along with, you know, like, oh, let's all just show up and vote for the Democratic Party, or let's just pray that the problems will go away and all that. And I said, that's not my nature as a man, and that's not even in my wife's nature. And she's as feminine as of a woman as you can be, but she doesn't, you know, she understands, like, no, that's not going to work. You know, you have to actually fight back. So I think we see it, and I think that that first step after you've become aware of it and you understand it, at that point you say, okay, here's how we're going to address that. Here's how we're going to deal with that. And I think the hard part becomes the fact that you do have, it's not as if, even from where I'm standing, you know, I talk to a lot of Black people. A lot of Black people disagree with me. A lot of them fight me tooth and nail all day long. And I'm not even, you know, I'm not even going to say that they're always wrong. Maybe in certain areas, maybe they're right and I'm wrong. I don't know. All I know is that from where I'm sitting, I can't sit and wait for everybody to figure it out and to get it before I say, okay, let's just get on our lifeboat and let's go this way. And I think that's what I'm observing, as I'm observing a class of our people, a group of our people that are just going to do extraordinary things in this next generation. Your family is one of them. Your family, I told you in very clear terms exactly why you're already millionaires. You just may not have the money yet. The money's coming, I promise. You know, but yeah, and there are other families out there like that. Yeah, and that's our hope. That's our beacon. And what's going to happen also is I believe that for those who aren't necessarily prepared for the future, you know, maybe their children can come work for your children. I mean, you know, everybody, I guess everybody, you know, isn't going to win and doesn't have to win, but if the people that do win care about those who are still in the struggle,
Yeah.
then they can come back and elevate others, because that's an important element of it as well, is when you talk about that leadership. I've seen entertainers, you know, when I sat on that phone with Kanye West for hours and hours and hours, and, you know, one of the biggest areas where we could not see eye to eye is when I just could not understand how, you know, you could spend $2-3 million on something stupid, but I can't convince you to invest $2 or $3 million in something that's going to benefit Black people. Not even charity. I'm not talking about a donation. I'm talking about a business that would actually make you money and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
The values have to be there. And it's no disrespect to him, but it's really kind of like, imagine if you had a person, you know, remember Kanye was making $250 million a year. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So with the amount of money he was making each year, he could have endowed 3 HBCUs per year. I'm talking about each year, he had enough money to create 3 HBCUs that would educate Black children for the next 200 years per year. Because if you look at HBCU endowments, only 3 of them have an endowment that's greater than the amount of money that Kanye made in a year. If you add the money he makes in 4 years, there's no HBCU on this earth that has an endowment bigger than the amount of money he would make in a 4-year period from Adidas. And you know, so mindset is everything. Culture is everything. You know, when you'd rather spend money on a Kardashian than on your own family, I don't know, I can't do nothing with you. But what I'm dreaming about is that one day there's going to be that Black child that does have that same opportunity, that's bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars a year, who's going to say, oh, no, I want 99% of that money to go right back into my people. And I know those people exist because I'm one of them. I've made some money. I made several $1 million. And believe me, the white man has never, ever stepped forward to ever help me get any of that done. And all that money that I get, I've hired tons of Black people. I can say that I put millions of dollars into, you know, with stuff with Dr. Claude Anderson, even supporting him. A lot of money went to what he was doing. And so I'm not the point here is I'm dreaming of that day where you have somebody that's really got that crazy money who has that same mindset. You know, like right now, I was sitting there and I said, golly, man, you got all this money, man. I was like, if I could just control your brain for a little while, we could change the whole Black community in about a week. But, you know, but unfortunately, the entertainer's mind is a little bit different from what we might see, you know, as people that are more connected to grassroots. So, but there's hope. There is hope. There is possibility. I see great things happening already. I think it's only going to get greater. No matter how good things are getting now, I think in 50 years, it's going to be extraordinarily good, and we're going to be gone, you know, but that's where faith kicks in. And I know it's going to happen. And that's what I'm working for every day. I'm not looking at 2023. I'm looking at 2083.
Wow.
Yeah, for real.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. We do. Okay. So we have a question from Jake Bam. They're dropping like flies. Stay with us, Jake Bam.
I know. Oh, gosh. I'm so proud of it for hanging in there.
I'm sorry, real quick. There is a question in the chat from Pastor Willette Wooden. She says, should we remove money from bank accounts and put them elsewhere? Example, credit unions.
You know, I think credit unions are better in the sense that they tend to give you back more of what you're giving them. I think credit unions are more connected to the community. It's easier to get things like a home loan and things like that from credit unions. And so I'm a fan of credit unions and Black-owned banks. So yeah, if you have the opportunity to do that, I don't see anything wrong with that. If you have like investment accounts, one thing that I don't do is I don't put all my investment account money in one place. Like, you know, like if you remember the company FTX that was doing crypto and all that, and they just lost everybody's money. Some people lost their whole life savings. Usain Bolt just lost, you know, his whole life savings, you know, because he had it all with one broker. I don't put my money all in one place. You know, you got to spread that money out, put it into different kinds of investments. If you are an investor, don't just put your money in stocks. Don't just put it in crypto. Don't just put it in real estate. spread it out. And then even with, if you have stocks on the apps, maybe put it on 2 or 3 different apps or something. So you can just kind of have some different moves you can make in case something goes wrong with one. I don't care how trustworthy somebody say they are with money. I don't trust none of them. Not with my life savings. No.
Amen. Amen. That's a
That's
word right there. You can say something.
Oh, you said it.
Oh, I think the baby has a question. She's waving her hand.
Oh, okay. Yeah. J-Fam. Okay, so you have to unmute. So go ahead, unmute yourselves.
All right, so first, what I want to do is we're gonna introduce ourselves.
You know our names.
Emmanuel, do you know our names?
No, Dr. Boyce doesn't know your
Oh,
name.
no, I don't. I'm sorry. I was listening. I'm sorry. No, I
Okay.
don't.
After we introduce ourselves, I would like to say something real quick.
Yes.
I'm Emmanuel Johnson.
I'm Yayo Johnson.
Hi, I'm Abigail Johnson.
Hi, I'm Phoebe Johnson. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Johnson. Joshua
Sarah,
and Judah are sleeping. Sarah,
Now who's-
Joshua, and Judah are sleeping.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's Sarah.
So
She's not there.
how many? So is that 6 girls and 2 boys, or 7 girls and 1 boy?
5 girls and 3 boys.
girls
Oh, 5
and
girls,
3
3
boys.
Oh, okay.
5 girls, 3 boys. So I forgot half of the line, but I remember some of it. But it would go something like, there was a time, no. Even though that I don't agree that pop stars and like rappers and all that stuff, I believe that they're like doing the right thing with like trying to get money, but like they're attracting the wrong crowd. Because usually people listen to hip hop music, rap and that stuff. Usually there'll be a bad side where like they would like start believing in the rappers, start like thinking that they're God, start doing rituals, bring them back from the dead, stuff like that, and ain't nobody want that. So usually the entrepreneurs are the one who touch the heart of those who wants to seek God instead of the other place, which I'm not going to say on camera. So I know that it maybe seem like that no one came to you when like you were born and that you seem pretty sad, but even though that they didn't come, there's still someone else waiting outside that door that you didn't know of because you were still young. And that someone was God himself with a couple of angels. He carried you this far and guided you all the way here just so you could talk to people, touch their hearts, teach them about the gospel, teach them about family and all of that stuff. There's even a time where I was just trying to like get a snack in the kitchen and there was something hanging halfway off. It was about to fall over, but I didn't see it. I heard God telling me to move. He kept on telling me to move, but I thought that I was just going insane, so I didn't listen. So I just stood there, kept on looking for food. So I just stood there looking, and it kept on getting weaker and weaker. And then it finally fell over, but I didn't see it. And I felt something grab me by the shirt, pull me away, and I hit the stove. The thing fell down on the floor, and there's a big boom. And it started, and all of it like leaked out. And it was like one of those big silver pots, you know, those old Gatorade thingies. That. Yeah, it was that. It was about to fall directly on my head, but then something pulled me. God pulled me, or an angel, away, and I'm still alive today. So thank you for that.
Well, I'm glad that you were okay and you are right. I think that God is there with all of us, and I think that having faith in something is what allows you to kind of separate when you see people in the world doing bad stuff or things you don't want to be a part of. A lot of your success in your life and your protection in your life really comes from knowing how to discern the things that you should be connected to and not connected to. And so definitely, I want to encourage you not to follow the crowd because, you know, as you get older, you're going to see a lot of people doing a lot of things that they should not be doing. And you got to have the courage to say, I'm not doing that. I'm not part of that. You know, that's very, very important. You know, and so I know your parents are very proud of you. I saw your mama. I saw your daddy had a big smile, and mama was just like this. And so so that was a very, very good question. Thank you for sharing that story. Very nice. And those are beautiful names, by the way. Oh, I think you're muted, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson.
Thank you. When Elizabeth shared what she shared with you, you know, we did what we did with the Rise Virtual Summit, and we said, okay, you know, we want to, you know, get together, do something for families. And you came today, you presented, and out of all you presented, she went back to when you were first born and the touching story that touched youth. You know, that story, you know, touched the youth of today. So when you speak, we are listening. People are listening. The right people are hearing you. And we just pray that you reap 1,000-fold for what you did for us today, and just coming and spending a few moments with us. We appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you too. And I have had a wonderful time, and I'm honored to have been invited here. And we're friends for life, because I want to see how this story plays out. You know, when these amazing children grow up and become extraordinary adults, and I know what good leadership in a family looks like. And I think it's and this is important, because family is one of those last institutions that we have left. You know, a lot of these institutions you can't lean on to create the kinds of Black children that we need to create in the world. You know, I don't think that the public school system is going to do it. Corporations ain't going to do it. You know, and so it is up to us to do it, and we can do it, and we will do it. And also, I don't teach any students at all. I teach teachers, and so I want to encourage everybody in here that heard anything that was beneficial to you. The best way to repay is if you heard something that works for you, have that courage to teach it, have that courage to share it. You know, it's to the children, have that courage to be the leader. If you're the leader and you're strong enough and you have the energy, then people will follow you, because you'll be the one person in the group who knows who they are and knows where they're going and knows what they're all about. You're not going to be trying to change with the wind. Nobody follows a leaf, but people will stick with a rock. So you got to be a rock. You can't just move whichever way the wind blows. That's what the leaves do. That's what the weak people do. You got to be the strong one who says, no, we're going in that direction. And if you do that and you don't flinch, then guess what? You'll turn around and be a whole bunch of people following you. You know, so use that power. That is a gift from God that I think all of us have access to, and only some of us, I guess, have the courage to use it. But I encourage you to have that courage. So thank you very much for having me. It was very nice to meet you, and I look forward to talking to you all in the future.
Oh, that is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
It was good having you too.
We are just tickled. I can't say tickle pink. Tickle black is the new pink.
Yeah, we listen to you so much. It's already like we know you anyway. So like, see you Saturday.
Right.
Well, I'm honored and flattered. So say something. So if you ever watch it, say something in the chat, and then I'll shout back at you.
All right.
And I'll mention it's a wonderful summit, great, excellent job. And let me know if there's anything else I can ever do. And thank you to everybody who's listening. And
awesome.
and good night to the children. I see y'all hung in there.
They hung in there.
And I love it. So God bless all of you. I'll see y'all later.
You too. Now have a good one.
All righty. Good night. Take care, Dr. Boyce.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Okay, that is absolutely awesome. How did you enjoy that? How did you enjoy that? That was such a treat for those of you who are still on and watching on the live stream. Thank you all so much for joining us. For those of you who are on the live webinar, we are just so appreciative. We're going to actually email Dr. Boyce some of the questions that we didn't get to ask and have him answer. So hopefully he'll be able to respond to them at a later date. We do have a couple of, okay, so Pastor Willett, thank you. All right,
Mr. Kent.
oh, yeah, okay. So he asked, how were you able to overcome the, oh, yeah, we didn't get a chance to ask that question, but we will definitely forward those questions to Dr. Boyce Watkins. Thank you all so much. We're going to go into messaging just very quickly. Anthony, did you want to start and say something about messaging? We're going to go right into our training. It's 9:30. I thought we would get off just a little earlier, but Dr. Boyce, we were soaking up everything he was talking about. It was just so informative. With the messaging piece, we want to talk for maybe let's take about 20 minutes to go through the messaging piece, because I still think that it's important that we go ahead and get you all started with the messaging. So just very quickly, we already introduced who we are yesterday. If you didn't tune in, we're Christina M. Johnson.
Anthony C. Johnson.
And we're your host for the RISE Virtual Summit 2023. J. Fam Johnson is also here with us this evening. And they already asked questions and you heard from them. As far as messaging, starting off, I want to give you some of these statistics. Almost 90% of all books written in 2022, according to a study done by the New York Times, said that white men were 89 to 90% of all bestsellers. So all of the best-selling books that were written by white men. And this is as of December 11, 2020, according to a study that was done by the New York Times. In reference to children's books, a study that was done by the University of Wisconsin-Madison, the Cooperative Children's Book Center, stated that 471 books were written, and these 471 books were either featuring Black characters or were about Black characters, but only 232 of those 471 books were written by Black authors. So you have authors of other nationalities and races writing books about Black people or about characters with Black people, but only 232 of them were actually Black. And I wanted to start off with that because you have to tell your story. You have to share your narrative of, your divine downloads, the revelation that you have, the experiences that you have, the expertise that you worked hard to get and acquire the skills and develop your talents, the gifts that you have from God, and then also the experiences that you went through and were able to kind of glean information from. No one has those things. So you have to share your story, just like Dr. Boyce talked about, find something that you love to do, something you love to talk about, and then find those people that need to hear your story and who want to hear your story, and then figure out how you're going to get that book or that information to those people. And that was very significant in what he talked about. And when Dr. Boyce even mentioned the things that you had gone through, we talked about that yesterday during the training, where we mentioned, how to turn your mess into your message without getting messy. So, he just really, really confirmed a lot that we were talking about. And you heard it from a multi-millionaire best-selling author himself. So you don't have to just take, my word for it. You have the word of Dr. Boyce Watkins, who said some key points in what you can do to be successful as a writer. So in the workbook, on pages 30 and 31, if you have that workbook printed out, or if you can turn to it, go ahead and turn to pages 30 and 31 in the workbook, because we're going to talk a little bit about your B.U.S.P, is what I like to call it. Many of you probably heard it as U.S.P, but I like to call it B.U.S.P. U.S.P stands for your unique selling proposition, but the B stands for book. So we're going to definitely relate it to your book. So as you're turning to let me know if you have gotten to pages 31 and 32 in the workbook. Like I said, we're going to do a quick training. I'm going to say a whole lot in a short period of time because I don't want to, keep you past 10 o'clock. I'm going to try not to keep you past 10 o'clock, but I want you to get this information because I really think it's significant for you as you're writing. Did you want me to dismiss
Mm.
JFAM? I saw you pointing.
Right.
JFAM Johnson, it's okay. Go ahead and turn your video off and you can be dismissed for tonight. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you. Bye. Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye bye.
All right.
Oh, me too.
All righty, and I'm getting ready to remove them as just
Yeah,
one
there you go.
second, and I'll X them out.
Good.
Okay, just bear with me very quickly while I get to full screen.
And then I'm gonna go put him in the bed.
You're gonna put, okay, all righty, and Anthony's gonna
close
be
that for me? Just a
yeah.
moment, so I can pick him up.
Okay, just hold on for just a second. Alrighty, and Anthony's getting ready to take Joshua. So we're gonna need to just move some stuff around really quickly. Okay, and then I'll come over. Okay, alrighty. Thank you so much, babe. All right. I appreciate you all for being patient with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so I was talking about the B.U.S.P, the book, your book's unique selling proposition. We're going to get into that and dive in, going over that information on pages 30 and 31 in the workbooks. Before we do that, though, I want you to hold up your hands. Just hold your hands up in front of you. I can't see you, but you can see me. Just hold your hands up. Turn your hands to face you, and I want you to look at your fingertips. Look at your fingertips. What is on the tips of your fingers? Can anyone tell me what's on the tips of your fingers? Let me know in the chat for the live stream. The chat is available today. It's enabled. So definitely let me know what is on the tips of your fingers. Okay, I see Kierra, fingerprints. Yes, fingerprints. So your fingerprints are unique to you, okay? They distinguish you from all of the people in the world. No one else has your specific set of fingerprints, okay? You have a fingerprint story, and your fingerprint story is that story that's unique to you. Some of the things that you've gone through. Now, some of the things that you've gone through may be the same as what somebody else went through, but there's a difference. There's a uniqueness to your story and your experiences and expertise, because no one has your perspective, 100% of your perspective. No one has been given some of the revelation that God has given you in reference to what you've gone through, what you've had to learn, the lessons that you've learned all along the way in reference to your family, community, who you've been around, what you've experienced on the job, in school, and things of that nature. So your story, your fingerprint story, is that story which is unique to you. So that's one of the objectives that I wanted to cover today, what your fingerprint story is. The second objective I want to accomplish is identifying what your B.U.S.P is, B.U.S.P, your book's unique selling point. And then from there, I'll take a few questions since the chat is enabled on a live webinar, and then we have the live stream going. All right, so knowing that you have your fingerprint story, I want you to think for just 60 seconds. Think about something you've gone through. It can involve something painful. It can involve something that's joyful. Think about something you've gone through that someone else needs to hear. Okay, either somebody told you, man, I thank you for telling me that. I surely needed to hear that. Or whether someone said, man, you should write a book about that. This has really helped me. Whatever you're thinking about right now, I want you to think about something that you've gone through, either involving pain, pleasure, joy, happiness, hatred, even anger. Think about something that you've gone through that other people need to hear about, and type it in the chat for us. What's something that you've gone through that you believe other people need to hear about? For myself, I'm a homeschool mom. I'm a multi-business owner. I've been an athlete. champion athlete. So a lot of those things that I've gone through, I've been able to craft my story into, just intertwine and interweave it into some of our products and services, our workshops, the speaking engagements that we participate in. And those experiences that I've gone through have been able to help me connect with many of the people that I help. A lot of people have gone through some of the same things that I've gone through, and some of those things that were detrimental. I suffered a miscarriage a few years ago, and I didn't want to talk about it at all. I did not want to talk about, having a miscarriage, losing a baby. Was it my fault? I just did not want to even deal with that. I wanted to just put my head down, keep working, and, just grind. But God said, no, Christina, you are not going to just overlook all that I brought you through. During that time, it was very difficult for me. I went through depression. I was angry. I was just upset. I felt, really low in my self-esteem because I was like, well, what's wrong with me? Did I do something wrong? Is God upset? It was just everything going through my mind just so quickly. But what God allowed me to see is that God is God, and his way and his will is the best for us. So I don't know, what was to come from, the child, if the child had been born. I never got to meet him or her. And I don't know what, would have happened, during delivery or afterwards or whatever. I just don't have all of that information, but God does. And because God had that information, he knew what to do. And having a miscarriage also prompted me to go to God in prayer and continue to work on my relationship with God and find comfort in him. And because that happened, when it was time for me to share my story and my testimony, I was able to share it in a way, that I could connect with other women who went through the same thing. I could share my story and offer encouragement and inspiration to people who hadn't gone through the same thing, and just make the connection that God is good. And everything that happens, we can find joy in knowing that he will comfort us, he will give us strength, and he will provide for us on our journey. So me saying that, I'm saying that for this reason. Whatever it is, whatever you've gone through, you can make that connection using your fingerprint story. You can connect to the people that you need to, and it'll help you as we move forward to talk about your B.U.S.P, okay, your book's unique selling point. So on page 30, we're going to start off answering a couple of questions. I try to make the questions just pretty simple so that you could go ahead and answer them while we're on the call. So the first question is, what is unique and interesting about your story, expertise, or experience? What is unique about your story, expertise, or experience? We're going to go through these, and this is going to be sort of interactive and working. Alrighty, so I see Kierra stated, at the age of 31 and with a child, I've gone through a lot of health issues and I felt low, still kind of do, from being depressed and feeling like I am not good enough and allowing myself to stay down, wondering what man would want a woman who has my kind of issues. I've had to make myself realize I am worth it. Let me tell you something, Kierra, you are not alone. You are not alone. So many of us have had to deal with self-worth issues, not only just imposter syndrome and not believing that we belong in a certain place or belong doing a particular thing or around certain people, but just self-worth in the sense of, man, am I worthy of being happy? Am I deserving of a beautiful relationship, a thriving company? Am I even worthy to be, standing in front of someone and telling them that they can improve or they can do this and achieve a particular thing? I've battled with that as well. So you are not alone, Kierra. Even every time I get to a new level, the mindset shifts that have to occur, I always have to deal with it because I get around people know, who, you know, are doing some really great things. And, you know, I'm asking myself, okay, you know, am I ready for this? You know, how do I, you know, make it known that I can do this? I'm around people who are making great incomes, and, you know, they have, they're on a different level than we are. But at the same time, God placed me there. So I belong. Not only do I belong at the table, I probably need to be at the head of the table in some of those spaces, because many times when I've been around people that are doing really well financially, they're not looking at God as their center. And because God is my center, I may need to be at the head of the table because God is coming with me. Wherever I am, God is there. So it's the same with you as well. Stay encouraged. Do not let those thoughts of self-doubt come in. There are several scriptures in the workbook. Meditate on those scriptures. Those scriptures are relative to not just prosperity, but just overall abundance in your health, your mind, body, and spirit. So meditate on those in order to stay encouraged as well. So some of the things that are unique about you, talk about that in the chat. I haven't been able to pull up the live stream because I have a lot of my tabs open, but I will definitely pull up the live stream and read some of those comments as soon as I can. Anyone on the live stream who wants to share some of those, some of your unique qualities, something that's unique and interesting about you. Already, some of the things that I said while everybody else is still kind of typing, I've said in reference to what's unique and interesting about my story, our story, expertise, and experience. Our God-given gifts, we've been able to use those. I have decades of scientific research background and training. I also have an education and curriculum development background, and God's been able to use that to create a one-of-a-kind writing framework that helps write at least 1,500 words in 15 minutes or less, and also helps our clients to profit from their books before they even publish. So that's something unique in reference to me. I've been able to use my knowledge, my expertise, science background, education background, experience of over 2 decades, and put it all into a framework to kind of help you be able to get out what you need to in seconds. Alrighty, and then another thing that I said was unique about my story, I'm a Black woman. I have a Black husband. We've been married 17 years. This April 2023, it'll be 17 years. We have 8 children. Our children have never been to any public school. They are business owners, best-selling authors. My husband and I are multi-business owners. We're angel investors, and we show other people how to build a legacy using their words. Those are some things that are unique, okay? So whatever you believe is unique to you, some of you may have, you may know how to do certain things with your hands that, you know, many people can't do. You may be able to look at something and be able to systematize it quickly and efficiently, and a lot of people aren't able to do that. You may be able to lead. You know, there are some people that are born, you know, natural leaders. Of course, you can develop your skills and talents, but it comes naturally to some people. So you may be a leader who can gather people together and then lead them down a particular road or to a particular place or to a particular thought process. So write those things down. Alrighty, we're going to move on to the second, and this is all related to your book. Not just totally in general, but in reference to your story, expertise, and experience that you're going to put into your book. All right. And then for the second question on page 30, how can you use your uniqueness to your advantage? How can you use your uniqueness to your advantage? So if you said that you're a leader, if you are a natural born organizer, if you have overcome some type of relationship challenge, how can you use that to your advantage? And it should be relative to your book. Okay. If anyone wants to share on the live webinar, you can share in the chat. Or if you are on the live stream, go ahead and continue to share as well. And then we're going to be working on getting back onto Facebook. I'm getting ready to log off and then log back on. Okay, and let's see if it comes up now. Alrighty, so while that's coming up, I'm seeing if I can get back to the live stream. Excuse me. How can you use your uniqueness to your advantage? One thing that I talked about in reference to my uniqueness, I mentioned, let's see. Hold on, I lost my page real quick. I mentioned that the uniqueness, I did mention that the Black woman, Black man married 17 years, that was in reference to my story. The uniqueness that I can use to my advantage, I incorporate my story into my business and services. So that's one of the things that I can use to my advantage. I have used it to my advantage, incorporating my story. The clients that I work with, we show them how to do the same thing, take what they've lived through and experienced and incorporate it into the book. You don't have to, be long-winded and drag it out and have your entire book talk about your story, especially if it's another topic. I know some people said they wanted to talk about robotics and health, cookbooks and things like that. You do not have to incorporate your entire story, but you should be making connections with your audience using storytelling. So storytelling uses experiences that you've gone through, short stories to help bring home a point that you're trying to make or share an overarching principle with your reader. All right, and then we're going to move on to page 31 in the workbook, page 31 in the workbook. All right, that question at the top of page 31 asks, who are you? Who are you talking to, and who is your book for? Now, most of you probably already know this one. This is fairly easy. Who are you talking to, and who is your book for? So I wrote down something. I did want to use the, I'm sort of rushing through because I want to get the content but I was going to use the whiteboard so I can kind of show you an example of how to organize your thoughts using the whiteboard, but we'll see if we can't use it tomorrow. But for right now, we're on who are you talking to and who is your book for? So one of the books that I'm specifically working on is for pastors, Christian leaders, business owners, and nonprofit founders who classify themselves or identify themselves as Christians. Pastors, Christian leaders, business owners, and nonprofit founders of faith, or people who identify as Christians. All right, so anyone want to share who they're talking to or who their book is for? Let's see. And let me check the live stream. Okay, so let's keep it going. All righty. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so some of you are probably working and writing, and I'm asking you to put in the chat too, so I don't want to ask you to do too much. All righty, so let's move on to the next question on page 31. How can you make your uniqueness easy for your potential readers to understand? Okay, how can you make your uniqueness easy for your potential readers to understand? And this is what I put. I came up with a strategy and a framework of how to write 1,500 words in 15 minutes or less. And I also use that writing framework during live Zoom sessions. So not only did I come up with the framework, but I guide my clients through that framework on a live Zoom. So that's one of the ways that I can take all of my experience, my strategies and frameworks, and then help to make it super easy for the people that I work with. Okay, so they don't have to, walk alone. I also outline it step by step in my book, How to Write 1,500 Words in 15 Minutes or Less. So it's super easy to follow along. My children did it. So if you're women all the way down, our children are between the ages of 6 and 16, but it was our 10-year-old and up. So 10 to 16 years old, if they can do it, you can do it too. Alrighty, so hopefully you wrote down what your response is, who you're talking to, who your book is for. I've spoken to some of you already. We had some great conversations yesterday, and yesterday night and earlier today with some of the people who texted RISE, R-I-S-E, to our phone number. And I called a few of you back and we just had some really great conversations. So some of you have already told me who you want to write to. Some are single mothers. Some are like Tanisha, who wants to write to women who are married or want to get married and how to become a virtuous wife. I spoke with someone else and they want to write to the youth because they have a nonprofit. So it's so many different people that you can be writing to. So just jot that down very quickly. We're going over your B.U.S.P, B-U-S-P, your book's unique selling proposition. Alrighty, on page 31, let's go to the middle question, that second question, which reads, how can you make your uniqueness easy for your potential reader to understand? Okay, we just did that one. Now we're in the last question. All right, so the last one or statement is write 1 to 2 sentences that state your B.U.S.P, okay, your B-U-S-P, your book's unique selling proposition. So you're going to write down 1 to 2 sentences that include that overall idea of all the things that we just talked about. We just answered some questions, so this should make it kind of easy. You know, what's unique and interesting about you, your story, expertise, or experience. How can you use your uniqueness to your advantage? Who are you talking to? Who is your book for? How can you make your uniqueness easy for your potential reader to understand? And then now we're working on writing the 1 to 2 sentences. You are going to have to develop the sentences though. So don't think that, you know, if you don't have it down right now, you know, that's it. Okay. You're going to just jot down what you can, and then you'll come back and keep working on developing it. All right, so what I've written down, this is kind of lengthy, but it's 2 sentences though. And I've used this so often when I go to speak in some of the copy that I do for my websites and emails. I've actually used this as well. So at Testimony Publishers LLC, we provide the resources and tools for pastors, Christian leaders, business owners, and nonprofit founders of faith to write 1,500 words in 15 minutes or less without writing a single word. Using our signature writing framework and publishing strategies, our clients are able to profit from their book idea, expand the global impact of their ministry or business, and increase God's territory using their self-published book. Okay, so like I said, 2 sentences, 2 long sentences, but I've actually used this to get people to listen to some of the things that I wanted them to hear when we were asking for sponsorship, when we were asking for donations and pre-sales. People love to hear this. I've used this statement to several times when I was speaking, and someone, you know, just wanted to ask, well, you know, what is it you do? You know, and I can kind of run it down. I differentiate myself from other self-publishers and self-publishing consultants because of my framework. I have a 1,500 words in 15 minutes or less writing framework. I don't know anyone else that's doing that. So that's something that's unique. I don't know anyone else that's telling you, okay, you don't even have to pay for publishing. Let me show you this pre-sale strategy that works. If you implement it and work it, it'll work for you to bring in income. So that's something that you can work on over the next day or so, because it's part of your homework for the night so that you can get the golden ticket. You have to post your B.U.S.P in the Facebook group, okay, in order to be eligible for day 2's golden ticket. And speaking of golden tickets, is our golden ticket winner on? I can't get into the Facebook group to see if you followed the directions to win, but we emailed one of the attendees from yesterday, and I'm going to show the golden ticket so that you can see who the winner is. This is so fun. It's a good time to take a break too. Alrighty, so the golden ticket winner is, and I'm going to share my screen for this because I want everyone to see. Let's see. I'm here. Okay. Awesome. So I'm going to bring you on. Do you want to come on? Do you mind if you come on, Donna? because I'm going to make the announcement right now by showing your golden ticket. The winner of the golden ticket for day one of the RISE Virtual Summit 2023 is Miss Donna Unique. Everyone clap it up for Miss Donna Unique. She followed the directions. She completed the homework assignment. She posted in the Facebook group, and she is now the winner of day one's golden ticket. So give her some congratulations in the Facebook group. Also give her some congratulations on the in the webinar chat. Donna Unique. Let me come back to Zoom. Or at least I'm going to stop sharing here. And I am. Okay, so you got Kierra saying, congrats. That's awesome, awesome, awesome. So let me go ahead and I'm going to bring you up so that we can figure out what prize you won. Okay, so let's see, Donna. Okay, so you're coming up as Donna Cole, right? All right, I'm bringing you up now. So you're going to see some prompts. Do you see any of those prompts coming up? All righty, so you're coming up, you're coming up.
Hi. Thank you so much.
Look, I'm not gonna I see you driving.
Yes.
How are you?
Yes, I work nights.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm not going to keep you. I see you on the road. I'm like, you know, can you come up? And then you're like, yeah, okay. So we're going to keep you safe.
Okay. I'm so excited. I'm almost at my destination.
Okay, awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about what kind of book you want to write too, and then you can let me know what prize you want.
Okay. My name is Donna Unique on Facebook in the Facebook group, but of course my actual name is Donna Cole, so that's what you see now. I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, what is now referred to as the Bronzeville area. So my story is similar to Dr. Boyce. I was too a young teen mom. I was actually younger than his mom. And so being a freshman in high school with the baby was very challenging. And just with that, it also is what drove me, because of course, as parents, we naturally want what's best for our children, right? So we want to put them in a better position than what we may have been in. And so just growing up in that environment, and I was basically a baby with the baby. And so I kind of want to tell my story and everything that comes along with that, and having a parent that has succumbed to drug addiction and still being able to make a way for myself and my son. Amen. So he is an adult now, and we are doing okay. I kind of purchased my first home maybe 2 years ago. So I overcame everything that they said I would be. I even had other people, relatives, would, you know, say they can see me with 5 or 6 kids and all this different type of stuff, and just automatically assume that I would just, because I started so young, I would continue to have children out of wedlock and just be on welfare, all these different negativities that was placed over me. I didn't walk in that. I walked in my own faith and my own truth, and I knew that I always wanted something outside of my environment. So I pushed myself. It was very difficult from working as a cashier to working in factories, and now I work in corrections. I went to school and I worked and I raised my son. So I always wanted to share my story, just to reach out and possibly help another young teen mom that could, you know, be struggling or not knowing what to do, because children, they don't come with instruction manuals. And when you're still a child and still growing yourself, it's twice as hard. So I always wanted to just share my story. And right now, this is just so inspiring for me, because I never knew exactly where to start or how to start. So this Again, I'm just so excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. The depth of your story, you have so much that you could talk about, so many angles you could take as well. I mean, I'm hearing book series. You could be speaking to young mothers. You can speak to just women in general before getting into relationships, after getting into relationships, raising a child. It's so many different things that you can talk about. What are you thinking about for your book idea? I mean, I know you said you want to, encourage and share your story, but who are you thinking about speaking to specifically in reference to your book idea?
I think I have to narrow that down because, again, I can speak with young teens who are maybe going through pregnancy at this time and who may even in the future with the Roe versus Wade being overturned, they may be struggling. And also the mothers who may have already raised their children and they were young teen moms and may just want somebody to be related to, like, oh, I always thought I was alone, but somebody else have a similar story to mine.
Right. Awesome. Well, I'm just so pleased to know you. It is a blessing for me just to meet you and your positivity, overcoming challenges in your life. You've been a blessing. I don't even think you know it, but you've been a blessing to me and the entire attendees with sharing your story and keeping us encouraged and inspired to know that there are people that are doing well, even though the odds have been stacked against them. All right. So Donna, let me know what do you want as your prize? We got a couple of prizes. We got books. We have the big and bold, Mrs. Kierra Sheard-Kelly. We have Dr. Boyce Watkins' book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. We have the How to Write 1,500 Words in 15 Minutes or Less. And then we have the Amex gift cards. So you get to pick one, and then we'll make sure that we get either the print books to you or the gift card.
Oh my goodness, it's so hard to choose. Okay.
I was gonna say, if you don't want to choose now, you can always email me, and you're in the group. You can tag me and let me know, but I'm not gonna give it away. This is yours, whatever whenever you let me know.
Okay, I think I'll go with the Black economics. I think that's where I am right now.
Okay.
Power and build up that generational wealth.
Awesome. So I'm going to write that down so I won't forget.
Okay.
Alrighty. So now, people, the Black economic 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power is off the table. So, don't even ask if you're the next winner. All right. You have the other prizes. Alrighty. So Black economic power. And I'm going to let me finish writing this. Alrighty. So cool. Okay, this has been amazing. So I don't want to keep you any longer. I just wanted to come up, officially congratulate you and thank you for sharing your story. And then we're going to move on to the next part of the training before we go.
Thank you for having us. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. Take care, and thank you, Donna.
You too. Bye.
This is absolutely awesome. Such a joy. I love hearing stories of triumph. Alrighty, let's move on. Okay, so we have the golden ticket already done. So it is past 10 o'clock. I have 10:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you all want me to continue, I do have one more section. This section is called the 7 C's of Writing a Bestseller. I'm going to go over 7 main components that go into the books that I write and the books that I help my clients to write that help us to write books that our readers will be able to understand and implement. All right. And they turn out to do really well on Amazon as well. If you want me to keep going, just put yes in the chat or in the comments, and I'll keep going and finish up with the 7 C's of writing a bestseller. And then we'll go ahead and end out for tonight. And let me see, we have, okay, I'm not sure if there's, okay, so yep, already. So I see yes, keep going, yes. Okay, cool. All right, so yes, we're gonna keep going. Okay, so we're done with the bust. That is your homework. You're going to fine tune it, get it to 1 or 2 sentences. You're going to post it in the Facebook group so that you can win, be eligible to win the golden ticket, and then be able to pick a prize. All right. So on the back of a piece of paper in the notes section, I think that's the next page, which is page 32 in the workbook. You can write 7 C's, the 7 C's of writing a bestseller. So yep, that's going to be on page 32. There's a page where you can write notes. So when I kind of came up with this idea of 7 C's because it made it easy to remember, just knowing that each word begins with a C. So we're doing like an alliteration thing. The first C that you have to think about when you want to write a bestseller, and bestseller doesn't always mean that you're on someone's list. Bestseller means that you're getting your book into the hands of the people who need to read it, and you're creating some type of passive income. You're making money from your book. All righty. So the first C is calling. C-A-L-L-I-N-G, calling. What has God called you to do? If you don't already know what it is, I suggest that you pray about it, meditate on it. Most of you here have a good sense of it from the people that I've spoken with. You have a good sense of what God has called you to do. It may be to speak to the youth. It may be to speak to women. It may be to start a nonprofit. Whatever it is, what has God called you to do? You need to jot that down and think about it, meditate on it, pray about it, fast about it, on it. Because you need to know what you've been called to do. I have been called to serve. That takes on a different capacity depending on what role I'm in, but glorifying God, edifying the people around me, and serving is something that I have been called to do. And some people would say everybody's been called to glorify God. You know, everybody's been called to serve, but I know specifically that's what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to serve. 2. The second C is clarity. All right, clarity. Clarity comes into place when you're thinking about, you know, how clear are you on the overall idea of your book? How clear are you on what God is saying to you? So when you think about clarity, I want you to think about, what has God told you to write about? What has God told you to write about? All right, get clear on that. The reason I want you to get clear on what God has told you to write about, because if you don't get clear on it, you're going to have a lot of jumbled ideas. You're not going to be able to focus on one particular theme. You are not going to be able to include maybe 2 or 3 relative themes, you know, throughout the book. It just depends on the type of book that you want to write. Some people decide to write an anthology, pick one theme, and then get several authors together to write a chapter in it. Some people want to stick to one topic, one book, one bestseller theme. Some people want to stick to that. I know overall that idea is the industry standard, but sometimes we kind of stray away from that as indie publishers because we want to use it as a teaching point. We want to use our books as a template for a course or something of that nature. So we incorporate maybe more than one topic sometimes. But you need to get clear on it. Whatever you're going to do, you need clarity. Alrighty, so 3, the third C is connection. Connection. Who has God told you to write to and align yourself with? This is a big one. Who has God told you to write to and align yourself with? So we talked a little bit about part of this in the B.U.S.P activity, okay, with your book's unique selling proposition. Who has God told you to write to? Has he told you to write to the young Black man who lives in the inner city, who's kind of struggling with finding his way, finding his purpose? Has he told you to talk to seniors who are exiting their careers and, you know, moving or pivoting into another industry? Who has God told you to write to? And who has God told you to align yourself with? This is so important when you're thinking about connections, because you are not meant to be aligned with just anyone. You are not meant to just get into situations where you're given everything, you're given 100%, and then the people you've aligned with, they aren't given anything, okay? They're the only ones benefiting, and it's at your expense. So you have to be mindful of the connections that you're making. Who are you supposed to connect to as far as your book? And then who has God told you to connect to as far as the people that are going to be your support system, your prosperity partners, your destiny helpers? Who are those people God has told you to align with? All right, 4, the 4th C, conversation. The 4th C is conversation. Okay, this has 2 parts to it. When we're thinking about conversation, we're thinking about what did God say to you that you need to say to yourself? What is the conversation in your head? Do you need to wake up in the morning and say your affirmations? Do you need to wake up in the morning and give God some time and read scripture or, place sermons over your head? What do you need to be saying to yourself so that you will get this book done? Because you would not be here if you had not been called to be here. You would not be here if you were not meant to write a book. I don't attract people like that. That's just wasting time. There's a reason why you're here. And because you're here, you're going to need to work on that mindset piece. You're going to have to figure out what you need to say to yourself to keep yourself motivated, because you're not always going to have that cheerleading team around you. All right, the second part of conversation is, what did God say to you that you need to say to your reader? What did God say to you that you need to say to your reader? Now, this is extremely important because when you're writing for someone else. Now, writing is cathartic. It's a healing process. Dr. Boyce talked about that as well. As he was journaling, he was able to work through some things. He was able to go back and, see where he was at a certain point in time, years prior to where he was at the time when he was going back to look at it. So it's very important. Writing is very important for yourself. But at the same time, when you're writing, most often, if you publish a book, you publish it because you want other people to read it. And if you want other people to read it, you need to know what you're going to be saying to them, what it is that you have to say. Okay, so think about what God wants you to say to your reader. The 5th C, okay, 5, the 5th C, construction. The 5th C is construction. What stories and strategies or frameworks did God tell you to share with your reader? One thing I talked about yesterday was the radio station WIIFM, and it's really an acronym. What's in it for me? People want to know, look, what's in it for me? So when you're talking about constructing your book and making it something that includes strategies and frameworks, stories, you want to construct a book that you'll be able to share with your reader, and they'll be able to take that information and implement it into their lives in order to make their lives better. So think about construction and what's in it for your reader. What's the benefit for them? Alrighty, the 6th C, commitment. Commitment. Have you accepted your calling to write your book and be obedient to the prompting in your spirit? Commitment. Have you accepted your calling to write your book and be obedient to the prompting in your spirit? So this is so good. This one is so good, because I gave a talk. I was a keynote 2 years ago, either last year or 2 years ago. One of the things I talked about was how you can make $100,000 with family, and family is an acronym, FAMILY. Family, in it, the A stands for accept. And it's, have you accepted that your story is one of your superpowers? And when I think of commitment, I purpose for you to identify, have you truly accepted that you are already an author? It's just the discipline enough to do it. Go through with the writing process, publish the book, and get it out there. You're already an author, okay? We're getting you in the mindset of becoming an authorpreneur. Now it's time to actually do the work so that you can get it out. So have you made the commitment? Have you accepted your calling to write your book and be obedient to God's prompting in your spirit? And then finally, the seventh C of writing a bestseller is call to action. Most people in the marketing industry know it as CTA, call to action. What has God told you to do for your readers after you write and publish your book? So what has God called you to do for your readers after you write and publish your book? Now, a call to action, this is the way that I see it in my mind. A call to action helps to get your readers out of, your book. So get them away from just reading your book. And it gets them out of your book onto your digital real estate or your in-person something. Digital real estate is your website, your opt-in list. It can be a Facebook group. It can even be Zoom sessions. Maybe you have a small membership group and you meet via Zoom weekly or monthly. But you're getting people out of your book and onto your digital property where you can own your readers' information, like their website, phone number, email address, things of that nature. Also, a call to action will get your readers out of the book and in person with you. You may want to do an in-person virtual summit or conference of some sort. Maybe you want to have an in-person Bible study or workshop. You want to get your reader out of your book and on into your territory. All righty. Some of the ways you can do that is with action words, learn more, sign up for my free such and such, subscribe, contact us, get a quote, refer a friend, donate. So those are some of the things that you can include. One of the things, this is like some free game I'm giving. One of the things that I do in the books that I write, I always have a web page set up where they can opt in. So I'm going to get some contact information from them. And the confirmation or thank you page has resources and different things that they would be interested in that are related to whatever they got from me. Okay. And it could be an ebook. It could be a print book, something of that nature. So it's always a link in the book somewhere. It could be at the beginning. Sometimes I put it beginning, middle, and end. Sometimes I put it at the beginning and end. But there's always a link that leads them to an opt-in page so that they can get into my neighborhood. And then on the thank you page or confirmation page, they're able to get more free resources, supplemental materials, watch videos and things of that nature. For hip hop music, the children's hip hop book that J. Fam Johnson just published, it's live on Amazon now. In their book, they have QR codes and links, and it'll take them to a website, J. Fam Johnson's website, where you can listen to some of the songs that they came up with. You get activity guides, free workbooks, coloring pages. So it's so much fun stuff, but it's not in the book anymore. Now I need you to get out of the book, ask your mom and dad, can you, opt into this with an email address? And then you get full access to another little free area that's known as the J. Fam Johnson community. And speaking of their book, if you were listening to me on that live kickoff, I was telling you to watch their book. I think I mentioned it yesterday as well. If you've been watching their book, you'll know they don't have that bestseller label anymore. They don't have that #1 new release label. They now have no label, but if you scroll down, they're #1 in so many different categories. And specifically, if you're in our Facebook group, you'll see that I put a post out. They're international bestsellers now because of one of the strategies that we've used. They are #1 bestseller in a few categories in the UK, #1 bestseller in a couple of categories in Australia, and then #1 bestseller in several categories in the United States. So you can see that post in the Facebook group. I made a couple of notes on there, and I'm bringing that up, not to brag or anything, but just to let you know, if you watch people and you really, really study people, you can see some of the things that they're doing. Now, of course, there's steps in between that, aren't going to be really, that obvious, but you can see some of what's going on if you just watch what we do. If you watch what we do, you'll get a lot of information so that you would be able to implement it. All right, so the call to action for J. Fam Johnson and myself, we get them over to a resource page so they can get onto our email list. So those are the 7 C's: calling, clarity, connection, conversation, construction, commitment, and call to action. Those are the 7 C's. If you do those things and get them honed in, you will definitely have a bestseller that could possibly get onto some of the lists like Amazon and whatnot. But you will definitely have a bestseller, meaning that people are buying it. They're really selling. Your books are selling. You're getting money from it. And I think that's one of the things that we want as well. If you don't want money, then a bestseller could also mean that it's being downloaded. People are opting in, for your book, and you're giving it away free, but you're also building your email list. So it's so many different things that you can do with your book, and it doesn't always have to involve getting on someone's list or making money from it, if that makes sense. All right, so let me know if you have any questions about the 3 C's, and then we're going to be finishing up because we are not going past 10:30, people. I'm telling you, we are not going past 10:30. You're going to have to catch up on some of the training in the Facebook group because we do some trainings. Or if you want more information, if you want to get on a call, if you're ready to publish, some of you are ready to publish. I talked to you today and you are ready to write your books. We've already set up some bestseller clarity calls to get people clear. The first call that you have with me is never going to be a sales call. It's always to introduce myself, to find out a little bit about you, to see if we're a good fit, to see if, I can even help you with what it is you're trying to accomplish. That's usually my first call. The only time I sell something on those calls is if the person says, look, I'm not getting off the phone. Look, we're going to do this right now. And then we get them started as soon as possible. But most often, my first call is just to introduce myself and find out what you need. So if you're interested in one of those first calls, they usually last about 15 minutes. If you're interested in that, go ahead and text me today, RISE, so that I'll know you're from RISE, and then give me your name. Many of the people that texted me yesterday, you didn't give me your name. And then I called some of you. I don't know if you all are on. I don't see all the names. Let me go to the attendees. Some of the people that I called, they were just like amazed that I called them. And they were just like, you're calling me? And I'm like, yes, I'm not a bot. You had a question, so I just thought the call instead of just text back. And then I said, well, I can get off the phone and text you. And one of the ladies said, no, I'm just happy about it. But people just don't do that now, but that's just how we are. We really want to build a lasting professional relationship with the people that we're helping. So if you're interested, text RISE to, let me give you the number again. It's 307-230-0708. And I want to let you know, 2 people have already let me know that that they are just ready to go. They don't even need to come to the rest of the summit. But I am only one person. Anthony doesn't do the one-on-one sessions. He does like our events, our live events and the things we do. If you want to work with us, you'll be working with me and my schedule is limited. All right. So if you're interested, you need to go ahead and let me know so that I can put you down on our list, because I am contacting people personally to find out what you need, if I can help, if I can't, and then we'll go from there. All right. Does anyone have any questions? Let me see if I don't see any questions at all. I wasn't able to get back onto the live stream. So hopefully you all will be able to watch the replay. I'll definitely post it on the replay page. Any questions at all? Let's see. Okay, so I see some yeses. All right, so those are old. Okay, all righty, so that's it for us for tonight. I do want you to remember to do your homework. Your homework is to post your B.U.S.P, your book's unique selling proposition, in the Facebook group. When you do that, you will be eligible for the prizes. Being eligible for the prizes means that you did the homework. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Post it as soon as you can before our session tomorrow. As long as it's posted before our session tomorrow, you'll be fine. All right, and then the last thing, let me just make sure I reminded you about the homework. Posting your B.U.S.P. Alrighty, tomorrow there will be a musical performance by Kierra, KiKi, Sheard-Kelly, and then we're going to be talking about monetization. Monetization matters. Tomorrow at noon, though, many of you signed up for the gold level, and we're doing the 2-hour writing intensive tomorrow. So tomorrow at noon, if you have not already gotten a gold level ticket, it's still time. I left the sales page open. You can still get a gold level ticket, and I'm going to help you through the book business plan. We're going to write out the entire business plan, everything you need to do from, how you're going to profit, who you're talking to. We're going to go through that whole process. And we're even going to do some in-depth writing. I'm going to share some of the 1,500 words in 15 minutes or less writing framework with you to show you how you can implement it. All right, it's going to be a lot of fun. So tomorrow at noon, we have the 2-hour writing intensive. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the regular training, Monetization Matters, the musical performance by Kierra, KiKi, Sheard-Kelly, and we'll be closing out. That'll be the last day. All right. It has been a pleasure. I thank you for your time. We appreciate you. God loves you. And remember, rise and shine. Good night, everyone.